It brings me so much joy, just more joy than I have known that I could feel.
What made you pause there?
Just, I was going to say it brings me more joy than composing.
If this one will just once, it'll be alright. You could be a light, you could be a light, you could be a light. If this one will just once, it'll be alright.
I just that the whole thing.
That'd be a pretty good video.
Yeah.
Some people would like it.
I'd watch it.
Alice Chance,
Hello, Toby Graham.
welcome to the Boroky podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm honoured to be here. Offended it took you so long to ask me. No.
But you were number one.
I've been asking for weeks.
Maybe just I will tell those observers that Alice is my wife. Funny thing to say still because it's quite fresh.
Yep.
And we've already done one. Number one Boroky podcast was Alice Chance. And so this time I'm going to ask probably similar questions, I reckon. But I'm going to try and place myself a bit distant, kind of imagine that you're a guest. A guest who I don't know as intimately as I actually do know you. And yeah. And it's going to be fun, I think. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. I don't even really remember what you asked me last time.
Mm.
But I remembered feeling like that was kind of in the depths of COVID, maybe? Or
Yeah, I
around
think it was
that
2020.
time. So, like, I was kind of out of practice of generally being seen or existing, like, outside your gaze. Do you know? So I just remember feeling quite shy and awkward on that podcast in particular. So I'm looking forward to just, like, showing what a chill gal I really am all the time.
Fantastic. Well, I wouldn't know because, I assume you're a chill gal because this is all I've actually experienced of you.
Yeah,
You're basically
yeah.
a stranger to me.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been 3 years. So even if I accidentally ask all the same questions, I feel like the answers will be quite different, probably.
Yeah.
It'd be really interesting if any are the same, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, if I ask, like, where were you born? Hopefully it'll still be the same.
Were you born again?
True. There's a whole new side to Alice,
Yeah,
maybe.
maybe. We'll find out. Keep watching and listening.
Great. Well, here we are with Alice Chance. I'm Boroky. We have tea. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So exciting to finally get you in the studio.
Yeah, I'm so glad you look like the profile picture on your on your Tinder.
Likewise. Thanks for being honest with that.
Yeah.
Really saves one from surprise. Well, maybe you could introduce yourself a little bit, Alice Chance. Who is this Alice Chance character? I think that is what I asked last time.
Yeah, okay. What?
It'd just be so funny if you just verbatim
Can you
repeated
imagine?
everything you said, and so did I. We haven't changed or developed at all. It's
and
possible.
you, like, play the videos side by side and
Yeah,
it just
yeah.
lines up exactly, like, all the time codes, all the inflections.
At least it'll make a great video. That would probably go viral, I think.
Yeah. Shit. Shall we get up the last one and just try and do it
Try and learn
artificially?
it. I really don't want to.
Oh, okay. No, that's my moment. Okay. So I am... Well, normally when people ask kind of who I am, historically I've, like, associated it with the job of composing music. I've always said I'm a composer, I write music. And then people often say, what kind of music do you write? And and I would normally respond like, good, hopefully, good music. That's what I try to write. That would always get a little chuckle, and then we could move on. But yeah, I would say nowadays, like, if I'm being kind of my less, like, wry, like, is she being sarcastic or not? We'll never know self. I would say I am an artist. I'm a creative person. Just in terms of, like, not at too much of a wishy-washy level, although, yes, I'm an artist at a wishy-washy level, but at, like, a basic survival needs level. That's how I am my least worst self, if I can create something every day. I was reflecting on this the other day, that like maybe other artists watching, if you're watching, can relate to this. You can have an extremely productive day, but if you haven't created something, you just feel like you've done nothing at all. You just feel like you have no purpose, or like that you're not kind of doing what you're here to do or something. So it can be kind of useful, you know, if you ever just want me to clean the whole house, you can forbid me to create, and I will find a lot of extremely officially productive things to do to try and fill that hole, but nothing does fill that hole apart from creating. So that could be creating music, or creating stories, writing, visual art and sculpture, or like making movies. And yeah, that's mainly it.
Check out Alice Chance's YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I'm aware of this.
Yeah,
That's somewhere you can go for such things.
exactly. I try to share a bit of my creative journey without making YouTube videos as like a block where I procrastinate actually creating, by just pretending I'm doing that by making videos about it. It's a balance I'm trying to strike at the moment.
It's very meta. It's
Yeah.
a meta problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, does that, and I guess other things as well. I am a wife now. I'm a wife to you, and like, see my relationship with you as like quite a big part of my identity. And I'm a sister and a daughter, and a future mother. No, I'm kidding.
What a good time to save it.
Actually, that would be really
Get those
gives me
authentic
an idea.
reacts.
Yeah, totally. Better than a hidden camera, a camera you know about. No, I'm not pregnant. But yeah, I see those kind of family roles as part of my identity as well. Yeah.
Lovely. Well, how did you get here in that case? That's usually my next question.
Like here.
Here in your identity, I guess here is a good question too. How'd you get to Paris? We definitely didn't live in Paris last time
That's true.
we did a podcast.
Maybe nor were we planning to together, at least.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, definitely. Definitely true. So yeah, what's your story? And then you just get to pick intuitively where you start that history.
Well, maybe I'll go on the how did I get here identity-wise thing first, which would be kind of down a spiky path of guilt and shame. And I feel like recent years have been like a bit of a clearing, and I've like noticed, oh, I'm not getting scratched by thorns all the time like I was, like metaphorical guilt and shame thorns. But
you just had this compulsive habit of growing roses indoors, and you just didn't notice.
I just had no idea. I just put on what I thought was a jacket, and it was a rose bush this whole time.
Are you Jesus?
Everyone always said I smelled nice. I thought it was me. So I feel like, I'm kind of naturally a pretty guilty person. And so...
As in, you're usually responsible for
just crimes.
Sorry to keep interrupting. Please, yes,
No, it's fine.
You're a guilty person.
I don't really know what's going on. I think just like already felt that it was quite indulgent to be an artist, and I felt like both my parents are artists and have like done other things in order to give me the best possible circumstances for me to get to be an artist. So already, like, every time I'm not using, like, each minute the best way I could be, or the maybe most productive way I could be, it's like, how dare you, because of, you know, how much privilege I have and how much people have sacrificed for me, so that I get to pursue being an artist. And then if I'm not doing that, like, I would get into cycles of feeling bad and feeling so bad that I can't start, and you know, just being like, well, if this is how I am when I have free time, maybe I just need to fill all that free time so that I only have 5 minutes to grab here and there, and then that way I can just do 5 minutes of work, and then if the work's not good, it's fine because I can say, oh, well, I only had 5 minutes because I'm so busy. So I feel like that was my life for quite a long time. And I think I got here by realizing, thanks to just like, I don't know, like chats with you and like reading The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, and just connecting with other artists, realizing that, procrastination is fear, and that that I wasn't showing myself as much compassion as I would show a friend or even an enemy, really, in those kind of, shameful, procrastinating days. But I basically, as a composer, had a lot of success very early and was really chasing success. And I thought that I, in some ways, like, had this superiority complex of like, I deserve like getting all these commissions because, unlike other composers, I follow the brief to a T. No matter what I want to do, I'll just do what the commissioner asks. And I respect the deadline to a T, even if the deadline's unrealistic, or even if I'm doing like a last minute rush to meet it, because of these kind of like ego things that I had as my priority before. So I reckon I became like pretty successful pretty early thanks to those things. So I kind of like do owe it a little bit to my
and there's nothing wrong inherently with those things.
No.
Like, you know, achieving deadlines and providing the service people ask for is like,
Is great.
that's a wonderful thing to do. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think just what was painful was like a kind of parallel life where people were like, wow, you're so productive and so like successful, wow. And I would just kind of be like, if only you knew, you know, if only you knew how much time I spend not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, or doing a last minute rush to complete something. So,
and can we stamp out some ages here about what age are you thinking, feeling at this point?
So I would say probably from age 16, 17 until it almost feels like until like yesterday. Like every day I think about it, I just feel like I get better at it every day. I feel like I realize how much further I have to go. But I think probably 2018 was when I started my creative recovery and like embracing my identity as an artist and thinking that it actually is okay, you know, that's a valid way to be, and you don't have to,
you're not just getting away with this crazy thing.
Exactly. And that one day everyone's going to find out, you know, things like that. So I think, but it's like it's a long journey. Like when I started like having that creative like rebirth, awakening, I just thought in those weeks, like when I was doing exercises from the Artist's Way and stuff, and she was saying things like, you know, take yourself on an artist date, do something just for fun. And I hadn't done that for myself for ages, or maybe even ever, or at least not without feeling guilty, you know. I used to take myself off to the Roselle markets sometimes to have a wander around and like maybe buy like a little glass bottle or a charm. But always in my head I was like, the second I get home I'm going to work, you know, to offset this. So I think it was in 2018 where I started really being more kind to myself and recognizing that that's a perfectly valid and a valuable way to spend time, that the changes and like the growth in like embracing my own creativity was so big that I thought it couldn't possibly get any better. And I look back on those days and think like, oh man, I was still so blocked, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, that feeling. I feel like I know the feeling really well of kind of, I think of it as gripping now with my head, of like going on an artist date, but the whole time you're just holding yourself in position to be like at work at home kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's yeah. I think of that as gripping.
Totally.
And then like if you're really gonna make the most of like a fun, an experience that is supposed to be fun and sort of enriching. Yeah, it's good to be able to let go, and it's hard to let go if you're sort of, if you're gripping.
You've got your like, in case you run into anyone, you've got the speech prepared of like, oh yeah, I just had 10 minutes on my way to the next meeting.
Wow, yeah. Oh, the guilt.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Is that mapped out? I don't know if we got ages. We got times, but maybe either you could say how old you are in order for people to plot that, or
Let's
just
see. I think from age 16 until.
You did say that.
Yeah, but until when? How old was I in 2018? It was 5 years ago.
So
24. Yeah, 20. Yeah, honestly, at the end of my year of being 24, like life just really started getting good.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so nice.
Yeah, because it's also when I enrolled in classes at the Alliance Française in Sydney to start the following year. So I think, my year of being 25 was really pretty golden, 2019. Yeah.
I feel like that's a common pattern. I feel like a lot of, like us and a lot of our friends started just doing a bit more okay at 25. You got through the first half of 20s and things got a bit better.
Totally.
Yeah.
It was definitely like that for me,
Well, you kind of touched on the French thing.
Yeah.
How did you get here? Physically here?
So physically here...
we're in Paris, by the way. Paris, France.
Paris, yeah, not... where is it? Texas or something?
Yeah, well, I don't actually remember.
No.
Somewhere.
Somewhere.
There might even be one in Australia.
Oh.
Probably not.
Maybe. Why didn't we move there?
So much closer.
So much cheaper. Maybe not. Inflation and such. Okay, so basically since 2013, which was the year we met, I had a dream blossom where I wanted to live for at least a year, ideally more, in a non-English speaking European city before, settling down and having a family and stuff. I wanted to have had that experience. And it was never that I'd stay there for a long time. It was just I want to have lived daily life in a language other than English during a certain period of time. And my 20s were just like going on, and I just couldn't work out why it wasn't happening. I was like, no one's inviting me to live in Europe. Why hasn't that happened? I've been sending out messages to the universe. And then I remember after our Gondwana tour where we met in 2013, I came home and I was full of energy from that trip and like the travels afterwards. And I came home and I started up a streak on Duolingo with French and stuff. And then, it just fizzled out after a few weeks and just went into guilt and shame patterns of I always do this. I never hold on with my obsessions. I always give up before it's, effective and stuff like that. So therefore I don't deserve to recommence, things like that. So that desire to learn French was there, but I thought I'd already proved to myself that actually, I didn't deserve to, because look, I tried and I gave up. So obviously that wasn't the right thing for me, something like that. And then I remember when we got together, it was kind of French was your thing because you already spoke it, and I was just like baffled by that. I just thought it was so cool, and like that between us as a couple, it didn't make sense for me to learn French because you already covered that base, and I'd never like be better than you, so I may as well try a different language. And I did like a week's learning, like a week German course, which was really fun. It was like a Christmas present for my parents.
Wow.
Yeah, do you remember that?
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah, I did it at like Sydney Uni, like an adult continuous course.
Right. Maybe I do.
Just because I love, like, I don't know, I just love learning. Like, I thought that would be really fun. And yeah, my favourite part was like the R sound and just being like, oh, it's almost French. Maybe this is enough for me. But I think through like doing the artist's way, I was forced to confront like what I actually dreamed of doing, which this whole time had been learning French, and also to grieve the fact that had I just persisted, or just, you know, that time where I gave up on my Duolingo streak, had I just said, oh, okay, I've stopped, let's restart. It's not a big deal. No need to obsess over why was it that I stopped and do I deserve to keep going. If I'd just been like, okay, well, let's start again. I would have probably been fluent by that point. And instead, I could say a few phrases quite well from having practiced them like over and over for 5 years. But I probably had a vocabulary of 50 words. And so I had to not only like face up to the fact that just like everyone, I had this cliche dream that I wanted to be able to speak French and maybe live in France. Probably not Paris, because that's just so cliche. Was the next block that I had to dismantle later. But yeah, so owning up to that and grieving the fact that I hadn't done it already were two really important steps for me to then enroll myself in actual classes. Because of course I hadn't really been learning because it was Duolingo. I never thought to myself that it was worth investing money in an actual teacher. And when I finally did that, I just like skyrocketed in French because I was like, I'd been like a horse trapped behind the barrier the whole time, and suddenly I was just like, oh, you could just open the barrier.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy how, I don't know. Yeah, a little bit of money or something, a little sacrifice can just change everything.
Totally.
I feel like,
and I feel like I may have even made back all the money that I spent on the Alliance Française from teaching French. And it's just like, you just don't think, I never had that mindset. I thought I would close my eyes and like cringe like every time I like paid my Alliance Française fees, because I was like, oh, this is terrible that I'm spending this on myself, but then I'll forget about it. I'll go to the class. And then I'd go to the class and there were people who paid the whole term and like came twice throughout the semester, or like never did their homework. And I was like, guys, we're paying for this. Yeah. And then here we are in France.
And then we suddenly... there was a moment where you said you had this thought that you'd never be better at French than me. And I think now you can very safely say that you're better at French than me. So that's a cool...
Yeah.
Trajectoire.
Trajectoire.
Is that even a word?
I think so, yeah. I would know. I think that was a block for me as well. And also just the humility of having to be like, okay, I probably won't be better at French than you. And like when you don't know a second language, you hear people talking like in very basic sentences, like maybe an A2 level kind of thing, and you're just mystified. You're like,
Magic.
How can you do that? And they're saying like, you know, I would like to order bread please and stuff, and to you you're just like, wow. And so I had no concept of your level. I just thought that you had a fluency that I could just never attain because of how early you started speaking. And I just didn't comprehend all the nuances of what someone's language level can be, and also how it can fluctuate. Okay. I just thought you either did or you didn't speak another language.
Yeah. And I wonder how often... I feel like that happens if you don't know anything about it. you can either do the Dunning-Kruger thing where you think you know everything about it because you know nothing.
Yeah.
Or you can have that where it's just magic. I feel like occasionally I've like learnt a song with a student by ear and I've heard it and been like, okay, so here are the first few notes and now we're gonna work it out together, and they'll be like
How did you
amazed.
do that?
Exactly. What is that magic? How?
Yeah.
And I think it's the same thing. It's like just learning. And hearing new music, I think, is like that too. Like the first time you hear music, it can just hit you or be too much or something, and then you learn again. And, sorry, I think I'm rambling.
No, it's fine.
But when you learn more, you know that you can do it too.
Yeah. You find a way to understand it, or like a context to hold the thing in. Like it reminds me of the first time I heard the Cat Empire, and I thought like, oh, it sounds so like rough. Like Harry's voice is so like nasal, and all the trumpets, like it sounds like dirty and rough. And then they went on to become like one of my favorite bands ever. But when I first heard them, I didn't have any like any kind of vehicle to contain what I was hearing. You know? Yeah.
That's a great example.
Thanks.
Well, we still haven't done. How'd you get to Paris?
Yeah, so I thought, okay, so a French-speaking country will be the place to live, and like I told you, I was like, I have this dream where, I want to like live in Europe, maybe France at that stage, I don't know, but I think that's when I started working on FANGIRLS, and that was once we like, I mean, I'd been working on it for 2 years, and it was starting to show itself to be quite a long road, you know, in 2018, like...
2018, you're 2 years in.
2 years in, exactly. 2 years into FANGIRLS, and we still hadn't had the premiere season, and we really thought it would have happened by now.
FANGIRLS is a musical.
It's a musical. You can
look
go
up if you want to.
listen to the soundtrack.
Yeah, go look at the album. Yeah.
But yeah, we'd been working on it for so long, and I could see, and I was like very excited because I was going to be the music director. That was my first time music directing like a show at that level. And at the same time, I could see that I was going to be kind of locked in a little bit for the season. So I could see my whole year was going to, especially the second half of 2019, was going to be really taken up a lot by that show. And so I started planning ahead, being like, after that, when I have the freedom to kind of go where I want, maybe that's the year, 2020 is the year to move to Paris. And I felt like my 20s ending, and I was like, this really has to happen. I need to go there and come back so that I can turn 30 in Australia, and, you know, that we can have a family and all that. So I think, in 2019, I felt the clock ticking a little bit. And so I was like, I want to probably try to move to France at some point. And you just got to Sydney and you're loving it. And I think then we started to plan a little bit of a situation where I'd maybe go for 6 months and test it out. And if it was going well, you would maybe come and join me, or, you know, maybe that would have been enough for me and I would come back to Sydney, or kind of suss it out so you didn't have to uproot your life again. And I kind of was scared of you coming anyway. I kind of didn't want you to come because I thought you would hinder my progress, that we would come as like an English-speaking couple and that people wouldn't like want us as housemates. And I had this like fantasy of being in a share house because like there's no better way to like improve your French or whatever. Yeah, maybe. But yeah, so that was the plan. And then in 2020, I went on a kind of reconnaissance mission in January to check out some places. I had this dream of living in Clermont-Ferrand.
That's right.
Because of a TED talk I saw about a woman who had never felt the need to leave her city where she was born. And so she's
blaireau.
like,
Is that
yeah, je suis un blaireau. A badger or whatever.
Badger, yeah. I think that.
Which is like a... colloquial term for like a hick. Would that be it?
Maybe. I thought it meant specifically someone who doesn't leave their town.
Yeah, but I think there's like a connotation that they're
okay.
not very cultured and
Yeah,
stuff
right.
like that. So she was like, I am proudly a blaireau.
Mm.
And I was like, oh man, like, she's so inspiring. I want to go live in Clermont-Ferrand. And then I went there and I was like, oh, I don't think I want to live here in the end. And I think on that trip I faced up to the fact that I was just in love with Paris, and I had to consolidate that with my definition of myself as not like other girls, and in fact admit that yes, I had a dream that was shared by a lot of people. And there's a reason cliches are cliches. Like, Paris is amazing. Of course people want to live here, you know. So yeah, was on that trip that I kind of decided, came back, started planning, and then it was COVID, and then had to reassess a little bit. But once I'd got over the shock of lockdown, what was happening, I just had an absolutely wonderful time where all my like deadlines that would follow each other with composition stopped for kind of the first time in almost 10 years, I would say. And I had space to just dive really, really deep into French in a way I may not have even coming to the country, you know.
Yeah, you worked
like 4 hours a day on it, I think, because it was always my escape. Like, it was always my friend. So I got to just spend a lot of time with that friend and consolidate a little bit more of a realistic plan for how to move to France, because it was really like, I just want to go there, be an artist. And this I realized, like, oh, in a year's time I still won't go there. I still won't be able to go there. So cool, what are we going to do? And then enrolled in my current master's degree, which I've nearly finished. And yeah, in June of that year we decided to, there was like a kind of period where the second lockdown came. I don't know what number lockdown it was, but it was June 2021. There was a huge lockdown in Sydney. And then you proposed to me a little bit sooner than I might have liked. And then we were like, all right, let's go to move to France together. Yeah, and now we live here.
Great summary.
Thanks. I feel like that's probably taken up the hour. No, I don't know.
No, we're fine.
32.
We're only
Okay.
halfway there.
Okay, so far.
Got to find something else to talk about. Oh no.
Fuck. Sorry. You can bleep that
This
out.
is a clean podcast.
Sorry.
What have you done?
Ooh, I gave it warm.
I guess it's sweaty work.
Yeah.
This sitting and chatting business.
Yeah.
What else? What would I like to know about Stranger
Yeah.
Alice? Well, I guess there's now. Like, what is your life now? Like, you got here.
Yeah.
What are your interests? What are you passionate about?
Well, I think my dream and passions have evolved since arriving. Well, when I was doing the artist way, it forced me to define in a couple of words exactly what I wanted to be. And I wrote, I would like to be an international, multidisciplinary artistic sensation. And I put that on my wall. I was like, that's what I want to be. And so international and sensation were the two kind of points where I was applying pressure in France. I was like, not only do I want to be interacting with the music and arts community here, but I want success. Like, I want to have prestigious ensembles play my work, and I want to go on stage and bow and, you know, all that, which sometimes I like to pretend is, you know, like something I don't enjoy about being a composer. But it's like not so much bowing, but at least interacting with people and hearing, being
the composer of this work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
It's exciting.
yeah. That's always been one of my favorite.
And everyone like, yeah, especially as a composer, it's the one time you see kind of the results of your work. You see people be moved, and then they give you a big clap, and that's like at least partly it's for you. It's like they thank you for your work, and the rest of the time you're trapped in your room.
Exactly.
Making noises.
Yeah. And like I had dreams, like visions of myself in 4 years, like having like melodious animated conversations with audience members in French about how much they liked my work and stuff. I was like, that's something I would love. And like catching trains to other countries to attend rehearsals of my work, stuff like that. Just really like, ooh, like I've perfected how to pack my backpack for my regular trips to like Estonia for, I don't know, the choir I'm working with over there. But the dream was always like the train trip. It wasn't necessarily the work with the choirs, you know. It was just feeling like my work connected enough with people to necessitate me taking trains and looking out the window and feeling wistful, you know. So that was my dream, and it's evolved considerably since then. In a few ways. I feel like my masters and the parts of the music scene here that I've been exposed to have kind of like killed a bit of an innocent, optimistic composer part of me, sadly. But I'm sure they can be revived. But I think I wasn't expecting such a traditional landscape, and that even in contemporary music, a lot of the boundaries that I felt were being broken in contemporary music in Sydney and in what I knew of America and England, to see that they were firmly in place here from what I could see was quite disheartening, I think, and barriers in terms of like
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah. I think just it's hard to articulate, which maybe means it was just more of a feeling than a concrete thing I observed. But things like how I've made pieces where I talk to the audience and get them to use their phones and make soundscapes and sing, and it's like, is it a rehearsal or a performance? We don't know. Like, that's the whole thing. I felt like I was seeking out exploratory, playful contemporary music here, and I was finding, like, sure, you can be exploratory and playful, but there needs to be an educational goal behind it, or there needs to be a historical context, or I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but I couldn't see me getting on any stage in any venue where I saw a concert and being like, hi everyone, like, take out your phones please and like scan this QR code and we're gonna make. But I'm sure like French audiences would love that. But
you definitely didn't find those audiences or those
organizations. I didn't find people doing stuff where I haven't so far found people doing stuff where I could look at it and be like, that's what I want to do. So what have they done? How can I follow it? How can I get to what they're doing? Instead, I've like felt just more and more disheartened about classical music in a way, which is so sad. But I think there's still a sense here with teachers that I've spoken to about grand composers and great composers.
They
like,
might say grand. Is
grand,
that why
les grands
compositeurs. We
compositeurs.
just felt grand.
Yeah, like the prestige around composing and the Académie des Beaux-Arts even, like, and everyone's in these like high-collared uniforms and it's all very... And there's like the National Guard that plays snare drums for you to walk down the stairs, and like everyone's
Serious
so
stuff.
old, like they may as well be in an elevator, you know, like you got these like they're gripping onto the handrails. I don't know. It's maybe a bit ageist of me, but I feel like there's some parts of the contemporary music scene and contemporary art scene that I didn't expect to be so dusty. And but I think that's me like peering out from a university and conservatorium context, and I could be doing more to like bathe myself in like the cultural landscape here.
It's probably there because
It's probably
such a big
there.
city,
Exactly. I think I just haven't like found found it yet.
And your people.
Yeah.
And I'm the same, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also just could have done a lot more so
Yeah,
far
it's hard.
to find my peeps. But I find I've been trying to do that online, been
Yeah.
like searching for music that's like mine, which just shouldn't be that hard, and maybe it's not, but for whatever reason I kind of feel the same way in that I'm like searching for community and I struggle to find it, so I keep like doing my own thing and trying to build something around mine, but I gotta find some fucking friends.
It's so good because I'm like now cycling through our friends here and just being like, they're doing stuff that's great and inspiring.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't
But-
matter that it's not the same as what we
Yeah. But in terms of like you looking for community online, like where I've gone looking and found a lot is in that little shelf of English books at the library, and I've just there for the first time like discovered writers that I really love that I'd never read before because there's such a limited selection that I'm forced to pick up books that I otherwise wouldn't.
authors,
Yeah, and I just feel now such a strong connection to authors that I might not have felt if we'd stayed in Sydney, you know. In bed I'm like reading at night and just like having my mind blown constantly, and it's really meeting that need that I haven't been finding as of yet in the classical and contemporary music worlds here.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, do you want to give any shout outs to authors you're enjoying at this particular moment?
Yes.
And maybe talk a bit more about reading and writing and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I'd love to.
What your relationship is with words.
Yeah. So,
First authors.
first authors that I found in the library. Number one shout out goes to Leanne Moriarty, Australian.
If you're listening, Leanne.
Yeah.
I'm sure she is.
Leanne,
Everyone is.
Yeah, totally. I just have so much respect for her and what she does. And her characters are so real and honest, and her stories, I've described them to you before as like you open the book and then you just don't know you're reading because you're just there. And
It's like Harry Potter getting sucked into the...
exactly, the diary, Tom Riddle's diary, exactly. It's like that. And I've had to, because I'm very desperate to be able to not write exactly like her, but to gain a lot of the skills that she clearly
You want
has.
to be sucking readers in. Like
Exactly. I've had to read a lot of her books like 5 or 6 times to even like realize
to start
like,
actually
take conscience.
zooming out.
Yeah.
Take conscious.
Sorry.
That sounds very French.
What would you to
be conscious of?
to be to take conscience
But to take it.
of what she's even doing, of what the words even are, like how long the sentences are. And I'm only I'm on like my 5th read of The Husband's Secret, and now I'm only just starting to like be able to observe the structure of scenes in the book and stuff like that. So I'm finding that to be extremely inspiring. Other authors, I feel like embarrassed, which is so funny, but I'd never really read like romance before, and like chick lit, as it used to be, I think, a pejorative term which has now somewhat been reclaimed. I think so Jojo Moyes is a British author of romance novels and short stories, and I have taken a lot of pleasure in reading her short story collection Paris for One and other stories, and just seeing that idealized Paris fantasy. It's about like an English woman who comes to Paris, and she's supposed to come with her boyfriend, and her boyfriend like deserts her at the train station, and she goes anyway and has this amazing time. And yeah, it's really nice to see that perspective, I guess, and to let myself like read romance stories. Like my relationship with reading has always been a little bit fraught, because I thought that if you were someone who liked reading, you had to know like the great literature and like talk about authors all the time, like just drop their names all the time, make allusions and...
As Camus says.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I thought... Or like, even when we first got together and you were reading the Glass Bead Game. And...
Yeah, I too suffered from this.
Yeah.
These beliefs.
What's his name?
That's Hessa.
Hessa, that's right. And I remember reading a few pages and just being like, whoa, I'm not a reader.
I don't like reading.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's a really boring book. Like, I
Yeah.
love it and I'm glad I read it. But
Yeah.
it's like meditation in terms of the prose. It's very...
Yeah, I'd be interested to retry now.
Mm.
But even over 2020, like, I was getting a lot more into Margaret Atwood again. And, yeah, just, I think exclusively Margaret Atwood and Harry Potter, I think I read in the whole year.
Good shit.
Yeah.
A fine diet.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's been an unexpected side of moving to France, is just falling in love with reading and writing and wondering, constantly asking myself questions about this pull that I now have, this calling I now have to write novels. And is it just because I'm in a bit of a rough, kind of unenthused patch with composition that I've seen something shiny and new and I want to pursue it because new things are easier because they're more fun at the start because you see yourself improving really quickly and you're like, oh my God. And am I just going to abandon it later? Or is this a really like a true calling that I need to follow and give up what might be necessary to give up in terms of maybe saying no to some commissions and trying to scale back composing to really give this a shot while I have the chance, because, you know, we might have children one day that mean that would have to like prioritize certain, you know, financial gigs and stuff, that financial gigs, just like well-paid gigs. And I can't see myself earning like huge amounts from writing fiction anytime soon. Maybe down the track, but yeah. So it's just one of those things where, and then I go into a pattern of like, oh my gosh, I'm so sickened by the fact that I even can deliberate over this. Some people just don't even have the time to have breakfast, let alone be like, should I stick with this dream that's going well or this one that seems really promising? What do I do? And I'm just like, oh, Alice, you disgust me. Yeah.
You disgust me with your nice life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, my criminally nice life. Yeah.
Alas. Oh, well.
Yeah.
It still seems to bring you a lot of joy.
It brings me so much joy, just more joy than yeah, I have known that I could feel.
What made you pause there?
Just, I was going to say it brings me more joy than composing. But I feel so guilty about it because I feel like at some point along the way I married composing. And I have this deep moral
divorced.
thing of like, if you get married, doesn't matter how you feel, fucking
Stick
it out. I'm so ready to
Thanks,
like want to well, yeah, I feel like one reason that I wanted to get married is because I knew that I wouldn't always feel as like passionately committed to you as I did at that time and as I still do now. But I was like, I know that there will be periods maybe of years where like I want to divorce you, and so I want to insure against that because I know that after that I'll be so glad that we didn't. And so I'm wondering if professionally this is one of those periods where I want to divorce composing because it's maybe not going so well, but if I just stick it out and resist,
go to some therapy.
and go to couples therapy with composing, and resist like the tempting mistress of writing, maybe I'll be glad I did, you know. But I think that's kind of toxic as well.
It's hard. Yeah, I feel like artists get to be poly.
They do. Great.
You can have a good communicative discussion with composition, and it'll understand that relationship with writing.
With writing, yeah. That's so true, Tom.
Let's hope.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's fixed that for me.
Great.
My
Next
years
problem.
of torment are over. Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like, so your psychologist mode of like you're a Jungian psychologist and you're leaving silence to see how I'll feel it.
Yeah.
And I had an urge to like admit how much I hate the birds here.
That's right.
Listening to that
So
bird
funny.
outside.
Such an interesting...
And you like them.
Yeah, like I don't... Yeah, I like them. I like birds, no matter where they are.
Yeah.
Like I think I do miss Aussie screaming, Aussie bird screams.
I miss. Those are real birds. You know? Cockatoos that would just shriek outside our window, and like the ones that would go on the opposite fence outside the window and take lemons from the tree and like eat it in one claw like apples, and then just like chuck them on the road and on cars and stuff, and just shriek and fly away. Or the ones that did death drops off Tempe Tower.
They just do that for hours.
Yeah, just jump
Climb
off
up
the
and then
top and
fall
fall.
Amazing. They would also wake us up at 6 a.m.
Yeah, with the planes.
With the planes. This is a great glimpse into the real Alice Chance, I think.
Yeah.
Just missing things that a lot of people just hate about Sydney.
I know. It's so... And I feel so guilty about that too. Because I mean, like, fucking France. It was the dream,
in a quiet suburban area.
Yeah, really,
nice.
yeah. Really close to, like, all the magic that Paris has to offer. And I'm, like, wishing I was back in Tempe.
Tempe's great.
Tempe's the best. But... yeah, I know that if we move back to Sydney, even to Tempe, you'll just hear me complaining about just like, oh, I wish we were in France. So I'm just,
That's life.
need to write a bloody gratitude journal.
Maybe. Or
And
a
then
novel
hit
about all these
myself in
details.
the head. Or a novel, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny with novels, like I fight the urge to be precious about them, but also to respect like the artistic callings with them and stuff. Like my main novel I'm working on at the moment is like very deep and personal, and I just have a feeling it won't sell, which is like fine, but also it's like a total block to be thinking about that now anyway, you know. And I think the reasons it won't are because it doesn't quite fit into a genre that I know about. It's these two character storylines that I really want them to be in the same book, but one belongs a bit to the Leanne Moriarty world and the other belongs to something a bit more like magic realist and maybe a bit more YA. And I just feel like the stuff in the contemporary drama Leanne Moriarty vibe is not stuff you'd want in a YA novel and vice versa. But every time I'm like, maybe I should just, focus on the one story or the other, my inner writer's like, no, this is how it goes, And
Great. I mean, I feel like that's a niche on the positive end. I feel like that's
maybe.
what artists do, is we combine unlikely things.
Absolutely. But I also want to be really open to, if I get the fortune to have a coffee with a publisher or something and pitch them my ideas, because I have a few others that I'd feel like the novel, I'm like really just doors closed on the podcast, but maybe I could say ideas for two others that I'm like less precious about.
Love it.
That I feel like would probably be more of a fun read, maybe. The first one, which I've already read you bits of, is the like kind of Paris winter fairy tales, and there's the evil baker who's married to a witch, and he's balding and convinces her to create like a potion that he puts in the baguette de tradition to make hair grow, and he eats the baguettes in front of her, but he switches it out for just like a normal one, so it's not growing. He's like, oh honey, it's not working, you need to make it stronger. Meanwhile, he's like feeding the enchanted baguettes to like beggar women in the metro, and their hair's all growing, and then he's just like using it to make static electricity and power the fairy lights at Christmas in Paris.
Wild.
Yeah, and I was like, I just feel like that would be a really fun read, and I've got a
Yeah.
few other like little fairy tales that could go along well with it too, and it could be like a bilingual book, and I could do the translation in conjunction with someone like a native speaker. I've spoken to my mum and maybe doing the illustrations, and I just feel like it could be a great thing to release. And given that my online audience is mainly to do with French, it's something that I could tell them about, and they might be interested in it. And then my second idea is also to do with French. Would be like a more contemporary drama, a bit like Leanne Moriarty, but heaps of characters and very small glimpses into their lives. And it's all centered around the Alliance Française in Sydney. And so you begin with like the bustling cafe, and everyone's showing up for their adult beginner courses and all different levels, and you see glimpses of people maybe having a wine in the cafe, or like a guy rehearsing his coffee order in the line, and then they filter up to different classrooms, and you just jump perspective to perspective between like students and the teachers and people of different levels, and sprinkled in is a little bit of like French course material and like classic jokes and awkward situations I've observed before in classes, and you know, just seeing people's crisscross motivations of like, there's the tough guy that always makes jokes, but he's there because like his ex-girlfriend offered it to him as a Christmas present, and even though they've broken up, he's kept coming because he was always like a jokester in school but never did well academically, and finally he's in a class where for the first time the teacher tells him well done. But or très bien, but it's like even better. But he's there like, oh yeah, this sucks, you know, with his like Aussie friend, and I don't know, I just feel like, and then there's like there's the girl who's like secretly like in love with the teacher, and like, yeah, I just feel like there's so much potential for extremely human stories there, and I've like seen the vulnerability that comes in a beginner adult second language class that you just don't get anywhere else. Because people are just using what vocabulary they have, and they start to say like, you know, my son ran away, we don't talk. And
It's all they can
on ne parle plus. It's like, wow, if we were to speak in English, like we would have taken months to get this far. You know? So yeah, I just feel like I could sit in like a meeting with a publisher and pitch them those two ideas, and just potentially have a lot more success than with my passion project that I'm just like squeezing out of the deepest parts of my soul. And I think that's okay, you know, because I love writing. It just, yeah, it doesn't really matter what, you know.
And yeah, I think it's probably normal to be very maybe, I don't know what the word is, to be a bit critical of your work that you're really focused on right now. But,
yeah, I'm so zoomed in on it.
There's plenty of really strange books that have been published and such. So
yeah,
I
it's
hope
so
that
true.
one does too.
Thanks.
Whatever may be in it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you know, there's like, there are movies that genre cross, and some of those are my favorites. Things like Horns with Daniel Radcliffe in it. I don't know if you remember. It's like magic action murder mystery drama thing, or yeah, I don't know what's a good. There was one again with Daniel Radcliffe.
Swiss Army
Man.
Yeah,
that was
the one I was
fantastic.
thinking.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't know if people really had a category for that other than like indie.
Yeah, strange.
Yeah, and
for sure. And I think that's the thing with that one is like,
Frances Harding books are real weird.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think I told you. Yeah.
Yeah, if you have something a bit left of field, and you have a little bit of proof behind you, that those things can maybe have a better chance of taking off. Because I think I'm just trying to like prepare, like as if my writer's a little kid, of just like,
it might not go well.
Not go very well, but it doesn't mean that it's not worth finishing and doing your absolute best. And it also doesn't mean that you might not sell it one day, you know.
Totally.
Or publish it. I could even self-publish, but I'd be really keen to pursue a traditional publishing route. And yeah, even if it's, you know, 5, because that happened with Brandon Sanderson, whose books I've never read, but I love his online lectures, that he wrote several books that he struggled to sell, and then one worked, and then another one worked, etc. And then, you know, his fifth novel was something that he dug out from years ago that no one wanted, and now they did, and he was able to publish it. And yeah, I think I want to really, because with composing I never did that. You know, it took so long for me to actually even ask myself what I wanted to compose, because I was so keen to just do what people were asking for. And yeah, with this new marriage in my poly artist life, I want to like get it right this time, you know, or just do it a little bit differently and see how it goes. Like if I trust the intuition, if I prioritize that and then see how things go commercially afterwards.
Yeah.
How will that differ from the way I did it at the à l'inverse in the first one?
À l'inverse.
Well, I was going to say in the inverse, and then I was like...
Yeah. The vice versa.
The
other way.
The other way.
That's beautiful.
Thanks.
Well, we've been going an hour.
Oh, shit, we have.
Is there much more that you'd like to... that was a weird way of phrasing it. It sounds like I don't want you to. Would you like to share any more with our lovely audience?
Well...
Things to look forward to, or things to look up. I'll put your links in the show notes and anything we've referred to.
Probably not, but... or like, it's probably better in link form, you know? But yeah, just wanted to say thanks for all the space to talk, because like... yeah, but not just in this podcast, but just in our whole relationship. Like, you're just an amazing listener, and just
Thanks, dear.
give me like so much space to just go like blah blah blah, which helps me realize what I actually think and feel. Because if I don't put it out in the world, I tend to not really know it, because it just like goes around in a bit of a cyclone inside. So yeah, I think it's just so valuable what you're doing in your podcast, and you know, I can't wait to see the future of it, you know, and I feel like honoured to be a guest again.
Thanks.
And yeah, in 3 more years maybe we can have another rendezvous. We could schedule it now. And
Sure. Live. I'd rather not do it.
Yes, same. Yeah.
Bit scared.
Yeah, no worries. And yeah, sorry if I didn't ask you many questions.
No. I liked it. Yeah, I think this was an odd. I'd love to hear if anyone wants to comment about the format of it. Where I was kind of trying to stay out of the way a bit because I'm so comfortable with you. I could easily talk the whole time too.
Yeah.
Whereas with other people, I'm more likely at least to like shut up for a while.
Yeah.
And so it was really fun for me to just like sit back and try and listen and I didn't feel like I was censoring really because I'd planned to do it this way. And so it's really nice for me to just like sit and enjoy Alice Chance as if I knew her not as well as I do.
Yeah.
Even though you're very enjoyable as in the way I know you as well. But I think it could be really fun in even less than 3 years perhaps to do like a relationship-y kind of one, because this is more like a bit more professional obviously. Totally, it would be very weird if I like acted exactly as if I didn't know you very well. But if we I don't know if you'd be interested, but we could do like a marriage kind of potty.
Totally, I'd be so down. Let's do it.
Cool. All right, thanks so much for being on here, the illustrious Alice Chance.
Thanks for having me.
Bye everyone.
If this one will just once, it'll be alright. You can be a light, you can be a light, you can be a light. If this one will just once, it'll be alright. You are here. Now you